Our adventurers have sought far and wide within the enchanted forest, their goal to find the ruined tower and the portal to the cult of the eternal flame. But now, as they stand before it, it is cold and barren, but the wizard, he knows the words of power, and from those words of power he summons magical forces, and the portal is open.
Hey guys, so last week we looked at the tower wall. This week we're going to look at what's inside that tower, or as it's being used here, there's a set of tower ruins with a magical portal at its centre. Here we go.
Okay, so when I'm working on these things, I really don't have a predefined idea what I'm going to do. I know that the tower sleeve needs to fit onto this circular base that I've got roughly pinned together here, and so long as that fits, that's the one critical element at this stage. One consideration I really do have for this base piece is I want to remove that center area as a portal or stairway that I can expose, and I've left this compartment on the underside so that I can potentially fit LED lighting of some description into that space. Now the base, or this circular piece, needs to fit on this larger base area, and the tower will sit over this area here. Inspired by the famous Weathertop scene in Lord of the Rings with the battle with the Black Riders, I wanted a series of archways on inside this tower. So I loosely drew out an archway design, and then from the cutout of that I used it to transfer two other archways using a white gel pen to get a 3 archway structure. You may notice this bit of a wobble in the foam at this stage. That will go as we apply the sealing processes to it later on. When I've got more complex shapes to cut out in foam, I always go to my bandsaw for this. One of the best things I bought, it was cheap, it was from Aldi, it cost about 50 quid. I cannot overemphasize how useful this piece of equipment has been, and it's good for more materials than just EVA foam. It will do MDF, it will do chipboard, and I'm pretty sure it would do a good job on XPS because the blade's quite fine, it's only thin as well, so highly recommended piece of equipment. I've got to say, I'm really happy with how this is going right now. So just do a dry run, pin it down, make sure it's all going in the sort of direction I want it to go in. Yeah, it's coming together well. So I'm really chuffed. What I realise is I want some upper structure, some platforms for miniatures to be able to stand on as well. So I've drawn out a couple of very rough pieces here that I'm going to attach to the top there. Once I'd done that, I also realised I wanted some steps as well, just to add a bit more dynamic to this. My design is set, it's time to start gluing all of this lot together. One of the things to consider about EVA foam floor tiles is they do come with a sealed surface which doesn't glue very easily. Hot melt won't bond to it very well. So you just need to cut and scuff that surface if you've got any areas of gluing where that's going to be the contact point. Quick test fit with the tower sleeve, and also I took the opportunity this time to glue all of the broken flagstones down around the exterior of the tower. I'd said I'd wanted to create some kind of portal in the base of the tower there, So this is the removable flagstone piece, and I'm just carving one of the Princes of the Apocalypse elemental symbols into that flagstone, because this is going to be used in the Princes of Apocalypse adventure. But I also want it to be interchangeable so that I can swap it out for other not so recognisable symbols. I'm using the soldering iron here to create the first deep textures of the broken stonework and the carvings. Just got to remember, guys, when you're working with EVA foam, if you are cutting it or sanding it or burning it like this, you must wear a mask. It is awful when you fail to, and it does make you ill. I love this stage. Once you've got through the big shapes and you get into that detail, you spend a long time on this stage. Lots more fun with the burning tool, getting those details done, and then closer look just to check it all before moving on and giving it a final check fit before sealing it and painting it. Looks great, really chuffed. I realised that all stonework was just starting to look a little bit mundane, so I wanted to change up some of the materials that we used in the structure. So using broken lollipop sticks, I added some old wooden floorboards to the platform areas on which the miniatures can stand. There are a few processes to go through to seal EVA foam. The first is to hit it with a heat gun prior to adding the PVA. Those two processes will ensure the rigidity of the EVA foam. Up until that point, it remains flexible and bendable. I apply a very generous coat of PVA just to make sure that it gets into every nook and cranny. I then, depending on the texture that I'm after, will add either a mix of vermiculate, which you can get from a garden centre. I talk about vermiculate in my ground terrain video, which you can see the link for here. In addition to that, for stonework, I always add browning plaster. This provides a nice, pretty much to scale, coarse texture for stonework, and overcomes the fact that you can't tumble stone EVA foam like you can XPS foam. The paint job's pretty simple. I start with a black masonry paint. I like masonry paint. It really does a good job of hardening off the EVA foam. It also has a small amount of texture to it as well, so I really quite like masonry paint. I follow this up with a reddish brown sort of colour, and here I've just lightened the redness of that colour, and I'm just going around and doing a generally liberal paint job that doesn't cover everything, just most of the detail. You'll hear me say many times, I'm not interested in painting cold grey stone, so I always start with a variety of colours. So over those reds now, I'm knocking them back a little bit with this more sort of rich greenish wash, just to push some darks back in there before I start lightening everything up. This just gives me a nice variable base colour to work from. So here is the first sort of step in lightening things up, and you can see I've got this kind of dusty beige pink colour. I really can't tell you exactly which colours I use because I work with a very organic palette. As an oil painter and artist in commercial life, this tends to be the way I paint my paintings. So you can see at the side there I've got reds, I've got pinks, I've got blues, and I've got a lilac kind of colour that you'll see crop up often in my work. It's just light enough to just start picking out some of the details of the stonework before applying the true highlights. So I've lightened this colour up further still, and do use white to lighten my colour, but you'll see that pale lilac colour in the tub there to the left. And I often start my lighting process, my tinting process, with that colour as opposed to white, just reserving white for the final highlights. And then I'm just doing your very standard rough dry brush over everything. So there's not much paint on the brush. It's rubbed off on a rag first, and then it's just lightly brushing across, trying to just capture all of the upper facing surfaces that are going to catch the light anyway. And so now I've added a white to that colour, a touch more of that lilac to grey it a little bit more, and now I'm doing a dry brush which is focusing more so on the edges of the stonework, just to make sure to pull out the sharper details. Final step, lightened further still, and just the lightest of dry brushes now. Practically no paint on that brush at all. Very, very dry, and just really looking to pick out the features that I really want to pick out. Looking really good. I'm really pleased for a rough paint job. So there we are. It's been a great build. It comes apart, it's playable, and it's just overall good fun. It's very adaptable to different types of encounters. You can have it as a tower, you can have it as your ruins, and next week we're looking at the roof sections that go on the tower, and some playability with it too. So thanks for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed this one, do the thing, like, subscribe, hit the bell, you know what we all say. It really does go a long way to help, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Bye for now? What's that?